Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues. Hi, I'm Bonnie Violet. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a trans, femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist, digital chaplain, person in recovery. I have 14 years in recovery today. I'm here.
My name's Anthony. I'm a 6-year doctoral student in clinical psych. Congratulations on 14 years. And I'm congratulating Bonnie Violet during this time. And I care about you.
Yes, and I'm Lulu, and my pronouns are he and him, and I am tuning in live from home. I just did some laundry, and I'm always looking for balance, and that's the same thing. And congratulations, Bonnie. We're not in the same 14. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Yeah,
we're now off not the same numbers anymore, huh?
No.
Each week we will provide and create a brave space where we have conversations around topics of recovery.
And believe it or not, our intention is to inspire and hold space, better spaces for people in recovery.
By tackling topics used to separate us.
But before we do that, like, subscribe, hit that button.
Ding,
ding, ding, ding, ding, ding.
Well, Lewis took liberties with our introduction today.
That's true.
Wait, what?
That you took liberties with the introduction.
Did I? No, I said my piece.
Oh, that face.
I feel like we're gonna have to get together and practice this opening again because I know the opening.
Thanks for the congratulations, Anka. Right?
Anka? Yeah, Anka. Can you confirm that we're saying your name right, Anka?
Yeah. How is she? Well, I guess she.
Yes.
Yeah, she could say yes. She could say no.
All right.
Anka, thank you for saying hi. Very nice to see you.
I had one of those this week.
Yeah, say more.
Yeah, I was sharing at a meeting.
You were? That's right.
And there was a newcomer, and when it came to him, he's like, "Hey, it's nice to get a face to name." I think he said something like that. He's like, "Oh, I listened to the podcast." And
that's cool.
I finally got one of those that you guys get.
Anka says yes.
Anka has confirmed that we are saying her name correctly. Thank you.
So wonderful.
Anything else about your week that you want to share?
For me,
MGM is talking shit about Lulu and said that Lulu takes liberties.
Yeah, of course I do.
They're coming for Lulu.
Well, they're not going to be given to you if you don't take them.
Exactly.
Right?
All right, we're all derailed. So, how was your week?
My week has been pretty good. I canceled my trip to LA tomorrow, so I'm spending some extended time here, getting ready for my move. So I've been doing a lot of trying to transition medical and all that sort of fun stuff, but it's been a good week. How about you all?
How about you, Lulu?
You know what? I am good. It's like I'm at home again. I was out last week. I got the COVID, and thank you. You guys were so sweet. You guys were so sweet letting me tell my own truth, although it wasn't a big deal.
Lulu, I lied for you.
No, it's all good. Honestly, it's like it's been fine. It's like I have no symptoms now. I'm just trying to kind of be mindful because I love you guys and I want to make sure that I am respectful.
We love that and we love you.
We do.
and tell MGM Brazil. I tried to say one word, Brazil.
It sounds like there's probably something behind that. And I would love to hear about it in the comments. I'll talk a little bit about my week if that's okay. It's been a pretty cool week. I don't really have much to report. I'm leaving to the Dominican Republic this Friday, and hopefully I'll be able to do what you all do from Punta Cana.
Nice.
Say that again. That's pretty sexy. Punta Cana.
All right. Let's move away from that. So today's episode is about willingness, or the title of the episode is Willing to be Willing. And specifically what we're going to talk about today is how do we get through those rough patches, right? Like how do we get through our day or through a week or through a rough year when things are just not going the way we want them to go. So I wanted to start off by asking, but you have to give me your first impression. Like, don't think about the question, just first thought that comes to your mind. So when I say willingness, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
But I don't want to.
Oh, here we go. Oh, no, that's what I was like, oh, God. So you don't want to?
I was like, but you said that's the first thing that came to my mind. I was
Okay.
like, but I don't want to. It's like when people say gratitude, and you're like, fuck gratitude.
Hmm.
Even though you like, gratitude is good. There's nothing wrong with gratitude.
Yeah.
Mine was inconvenience.
To be willing.
Yeah. Inconvenience. That's the first thing I thought about. Don't question it.
Yeah.
It's sometimes, right? It's sometimes a hard place to get to. Do you know what I mean? Like, at least I feel like sometimes I have to get to a place of like feeling really crappy. Sorry, am I answering too much?
No.
Okay.
But also,
you said quick thoughts.
Yeah, quick thoughts. So I think the first thing that comes to mind to me about like willingness is that it feels abstract. Like it just feels like what? Like willingness. What willing? Like before recovery, I don't think I had a context for what that even means. Like I don't think no one was using that like in common parlance. Like, oh, I'm willing to
common parlance,
like in an everyday language. You know what I mean?
I'm looking in my dictionary.
I think I know what you meant, but I've never heard that in common parlance before.
For those listening in, I'd love to hear. Well, we would love to hear your experiences or first thoughts when you think about willingness. Good, bad, ugly, just anything. If the color blue comes to mind, just type blue.
So Bonnie, it's important to note that we're doing this podcast with an academician, and so of course he's going to always be throwing out like language that
oh my God.
Lacks accessibility. That's okay. We have all kinds of audience.
I love that I'm being bullied right now for saying a word I didn't think about.
You're fine.
Ricky Vega says open. Open comes up for Vicky Vega when he thinks of, or when they think of a willingness.
Yeah.
Open. I like open. Yeah. I came across something. Oh, well, okay. Some fun facts. So between the 12 and 12 in the big book, willingness or the word willingness comes up 33 times. Okay. Fun fact.
33 times.
33.
That's a magic number.
Is it?
33. Yeah.
3 is my favorite number.
33 is like how old Jesus was when she died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just a little bit of
33.
33
I don't know
years,
why I have like the giggles. Okay, so when you think about willingness, I think it's because I haven't seen Lulu in such a long time. It just brings me joy to see Lulu.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
So Anka says,
yeah.
What comes to mind is humility. Humility when it comes
Another
to
big
willingness.
word.
Another get out of here.
No, it is. Well, humility is like it's a big word.
I think okay. We'll make it another that'll be another episode. Big words. Are they big? Question mark.
Only on the internet.
Only on the internet. Okay, so willingness, at least in my experience, has been this very abstract idea. Like I said earlier, I never came across this idea before I got sober, right? And in recovery, it's thrown around all the time. Yeah. You know, I did like a quick Google search, and a bunch of different like rehabs talk about willingness, but they all kind of adopt their own language. And so I kept coming back to this idea: is like, is this actually like an action thing? You know, like if we take it out of the like AA Big Book and everything else, like what is this idea of willingness? When was the first time y'all ever came to know, like, I guess the concept or the word willingness? Like, what was the context?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that when I think of the willing, that comes to mind for me is like God's will. I feel like that was probably more commonplace, something I heard more, that word you talked about, but it was more commonplace for me.
Which word?
To hear.
Parlance?
Yes. So,
yeah.
I mean, I feel like God's will was something I probably heard a lot more of, which is like, again, a whole nother, abstract.
Was that before recovery?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something I heard in church and, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So parlance is defined as a particular way of speaking or using words, especially a way common to those with a particular job or interest.
Okay. So I was thinking, okay, so I feel like willingness for me was more before about action, because I know you talk about it was abstract, but it was like I always had an idea of this idea of what being willing, because I needed to be willing to do certain things, like especially if it served me. I think it wasn't until coming into the rooms that I actually was able to start putting a word to it and talking about it in a sense that of its importance.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And in the third step, the willingness is talked about as the key, like the key that opens up like the path between us and a higher power, that you don't actually have to believe in anything, you just have to be willing. So in that way, I feel like the way I translate willingness is just prepared, right? Like you aren't fighting, you're just prepared when the experience comes. Is that how y'all see it?
Yeah, totally.
That sounds like open too, so it's perfect.
It sounds like what?
It sounds like the open, what Ricky was saying, open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're just open to, you're ready for it. Like, I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't expect to be put in this box, because I simply said answer the question the way you wanted me to answer the question, not based on like not based on like what I thought the willingness meant. I answered based on what you said. What's the first thing you think about? I
listen,
appreciate you.
listen. I'm not attacking you. There are no
No,
right
no.
answers. And your answer was fine. No one's putting you in a box. But tell me more about this box. What was the what was it?
Oh Lord.
Yeah,
You're on one.
I am on one. I think
I was willing to show up today.
Yeah. So, and thinking about willingness, for me, it's been very difficult. Like I've had, last year was pretty rough, and right now I have a lot of stuff going on. And so willingness to me in the most difficult of situations just looks like one behavior or thought that is like counter to what I actually want to do. You know what I mean? So sometimes like maybe I don't want to go to a meeting, so I might listen to a speaker tape, or I might call a friend. So in that way, I feel like, I don't know if that's willingness as much as it is something else. And for me, like, I think the thing that I'm struggling with the most is that I can't really talk about willingness without referring back to the AA text, which I have some resistance around, because I don't want to believe that this word or this idea can only be defined by this text.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
No,
Yeah.
I got it. I don't know. It's like the thing that I think about, like, also when I think about willingness. Okay, so one thing that we talk about that we do all the time, it'll probably come up, is like, even if I'm not certain, sometimes I act as if things are the way things should be, and I think that that's kind of how I spring into action when it comes to like being willing. Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, I think willingness is happening all the time, but I think whenever we think or we talk about willingness, it is like this special, like dun dun dun, like moment, like this stage that we get to, that I think often for me, the willingness comes oftentimes with surrender, like kind of getting either fatigued or exhausted, or finally like reached a state of me not knowing what else. Like I tried all the things I thought I knew how to do, and so I'm just kind of giving up, and now I'm willing that something else, outside of me, it might come into me, or some like idea or something different that I'm not able to manufacture or haven't been able to figure out on my own, like kind of making space for that.
Yeah. I see that too, because the way, like and I think it's into action, willingness is what, when we say like,
So
if we're willing to, I know I'll read it in a second. If we are willing to go to any lengths. So it always sounds like a point of surrender, like you have to kind of give up at some point. Anka says, go ahead, did you want to read that?
Well, yeah, I got confused between ability and willingness. I may be able to do something, but not necessarily always willing. So sometimes I pray for the willingness. I feel like no, I understand that confusion between the ability and willingness, but I think that, like, even if I don't know how to do something, if I make an attempt at it, that speaks to my willingness, because I can just say, oh no, this is too tough for me. I'm not doing this. I don't want anything to do with this, or I'm not going to try it because I don't want to risk looking like an idiot or whatever, or failing actually is probably what it really is. And so I think that, like, you don't have to have, or at least let me speak for this. I don't have to know how. I just have to be willing. It's kind of like when I learned how to, and I'm still learning how to do my makeup for drag. For the longest time, I didn't want to do it. I'm all, hell, if I can get somebody else to do my makeup, that's perfect.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until, like, I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. Circumstances made it so that I didn't have a choice. But I didn't know how, but I had the willingness, and so I've gotten better, and I'm willing to continue to learn. So, yeah.
When you first, well, both of you, when you first came into recovery, I guess, would you define, or would you characterize, like, the moment where you're like, okay, I'm done fighting? Would you characterize that as a moment of willingness?
Moment of weakness.
Right. Well, I think it's a yes and, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think willingness is always, like, I mean, I think it's always, and it's sometimes little slight movements, but I think we often think about it as something big. And so willingness is that, like, asking for help. It's that going to a meeting. It's that praying. It's that talking with someone. It's all those sorts of things.
It's that window. It's that window that we talk about.
What window?
Okay, so where you're in your active addiction or whatever, and I hear people talk about it when they tell their stories. And I had this moment, whether it was white light, whether it was like I heard the voice of God or whatever. And in that moment, that was my moment. And I stepped through the door, and I was able to make a decision. So I think that's it. Willingness also is that moment, or that window.
Yeah.
Can you say more about that moment for you?
Okay, so I think that so I always tell the story about how I was trying to be personal assistant to my dealer because I was running out of money, and it was a convenient situation. And he, in a very loving way, I can see now, realized that we kind of needed some space because we were crowding each other. And so he said, hey, why don't you go home for a little bit? You can come back over later. We can hang out later, but you, whatever. I had already been kind of contemplating getting sober, but what I heard in that moment was, you're a loser. I don't want to be around you. Get out of my space. And I said, I'm going to show you. So I left, and that was probably just enough that I needed to pack up my stuff and take the next step, which was eventually the next day to go to detox. But that window wasn't a wide open window, because it could have gone any way. I could have left my friend's place and found another person to hijack.
Right. Well, I think there's a thing with willingness too, that maybe certainty isn't necessary. Like, in the sense of, you don't have, like, I feel like there's like a looseness to it, right? Like, there's a vagueness to, like, I'm willing.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I don't know. It's like, I'm willing to do this thing, thinking it might be helpful, versus like, I know if I do this thing, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's that.
Yeah. The way
the
way you're describing it makes me think of faith, right? Faith is a belief in something without knowing if it's actually real. I just made that up on the spot. I'm putting things together. I would love to hear what the chaplain has to say about.
No, I mean, I feel like we hear a lot of this idea of blind faith or whatever, but I mean, I think the reality for me, I feel like my experiences of faith happens once I come to see something over and over and over again. So I don't really have
blind faith.
I don't think that's a thing. I think that's hope, maybe, or
do you think willingness takes courage? Because I almost think, like, based on what you were saying, it's like, okay, so it's not blind faith. It's not faith because obviously, like, some sometimes I have to be willing to take chances,
Mhm.
to take risk. I think especially in recovery,
Yeah.
like a lot of what I do now as an adult, I have to be willing to take risks, and
Yeah.
those risks don't always pay off. Again, and a lot of times I don't have proof that they pay off. Not for me, at least. I don't care if I've seen it in somebody else. I don't have proof that it pays off. So it's like it requires a little courage.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm thinking about, well, to this idea of like blind faith. I think when I came back from my last relapse, I don't know that there was, or maybe all the other relapses. I just remember being like, there's a lot of pain, and I get to this moment where I'm like, I don't want to feel this pain anymore. And there, it does feel like there, for me, it felt like there was a bit of blind faith, because I was like, I don't know what's going to work, but I'm going to do this thing anyway. I mean, that wasn't exactly like 100% like an accurate characterization of my last relapse, because my last relapse, it was actually the opposite. It was, I had gone out, and then something had finally clicked in my head, and then it wasn't blind anymore, because I had faith, because I had enough program in my body to know what needed to come next. And I think in that, and what needed to come next, there was that willingness. But I don't, that's the thing, is like, I don't want to call it, was it willingness? Because I just know, like, I was in a lot of pain, and I was willing to do, oh, I guess there goes the word willing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was willing to do what came next.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like to me, the thing that comes up more so is hope, or like possibility. To me, faith is certain, but that's just my own, what I've come to understand faith to be. It's more around certainty than it, and developing trust because of something that you have faith in it. Not, I don't know, blind faith.
I absolutely, I love what, yeah, I absolutely love what you're saying. Actually, it warms my heart, because I think, at least if I'm hearing this correctly, there's, what I'm understanding is like, your relationship with your higher power is such that it isn't blind. It's so solid and concrete.
Well,
yeah.
and that faith that we have doesn't always have to be connected to God. It could be, we came in here with a lot of faith in the drug and what it did for us. And we had a lot of faith in what we'd come to believe to be the truth of the world that we were living in. And we had to come to undo all of that in order, we had to become willing to begin to have faith in something different.
Yeah. It's like
understanding.
Right.
And we saw, and just like the reading says, we saw that it worked in others. Like, because when you come in and you see people with these bright, shiny faces, or whatever, even if you don't completely believe, it's like something is going down. Well, actually, no. If I come in the room and I see somebody I knew from out there, and their life is completely altered, I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I want some of it. You know?
Yeah.
Yep. I think that for me, I feel like I often say that's like for me, which is this, for me, that the thing that gave me that willingness was seeing other people and like hearing other people talk about their experience. And like, I just hoped to God you weren't full of shit. Like, I hoped that you were not lying to me about the experience that you were having that was so vastly different than the one that I was trying to get, but I just could not get for myself. And so, I mean, so I think willingness kind of was birthed from that. It's birthed out of desperation. It was birthed out of exhaustion. It was birthed out of hope,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get, when I came back this last time, I remember reading step 12 and the 12 and 12. And I remember, how you were saying, like, don't lie to me. Is that what you were just saying? Yeah. So when I was reading the 12 and 12, I was reading the 12 step and the 12 and 12, and I was reading all the things I really needed to hear. I needed to hear that my life was going to be different. I needed to hear that I wasn't going to have the problems that I had or the feelings that I had. And when I was reading it, there was one thought. The one thought was, please tell me this is real. Right? Because I need this. Like, this is the only way I'll be able to stay sober, is if what I'm reading is real. And then the other part of that was not knowing anything other than like my chaotic life up until that point. Right. And so I really, I appreciate when people say that, it had to happen at least once. I just totally forgot the idea. But I think what I wanted to say is, like, I appreciate when people say, that you become ready when you're ready, you know?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What were you going to say something?
No, I'm doing what you do. I'm just agreeing. It's like, that's exactly true. I love that too. It's like, what it does is it, you know, we all experience, you know, when we come in, or at least, again, let me speak for myself. I came in, I was super gung ho excited, and then I started to realize that not everyone is in the same place or ready or able to kind of let you know let go of all of this nonsense and dive into whatever program they decide to dive into. And um, ooh, I did that too. I was just agreeing. It's like, I believe that we all have a higher power. We all can tap into it when we can tap into it. And uh, God, it's like I was saying, the whole point about like being ready when you're ready.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get to decide because people come in and they're genuinely, they want what we have, but just aren't completely ready. And the thing that has helped me not personalize or make somebody else's ability to be willing is acknowledging that when you're ready, when the time is right, you will get it. You will get it.
Yeah. What the thing that my sponsor said to me is, nothing you did worked, right? And I think that's the breaking point for me, and I've heard other people. It's like, when I realized like literally nothing I did work up into this point, right? And I think about that now, you know, when I return back to old behaviors or old thoughts. I think the addict in me wants to believe that, oh, it'll be different this time, but I'm 37 and I have all the proof in the world that it's not going to be different.
And I don't know, was it that nothing you did was right?
Maybe
there were just enough things that weren't right that got in the way of you getting the results that you're wanting to do.
I do like that reframe.
I think, you know, but I do understand that dualistic kind of mentality that was really important. But as I've gotten older, and as like I start to fail, and as I start to, you know, I hear people come back and relapse and that sort of stuff. It's not that you have to start completely over. Like, there were some things you learned. There were some things that you were doing well, but with everything that was happening, it wasn't the ingredients needed to get the results that you were really wanting. And so it's hard to filter out what was working and what wasn't working. You know, there's like some sort of alchemy or chemistry or like secret thing that comes together, which for me, I always tried to figure out on my own. But until I brought God and invited God into that experience, I never knew what was missing. Yeah. And that's, I think, go ahead.
Well, I would say I had the tools. I just wasn't tapping into them. I wasn't tapping into the things that I had. So it's like, because I understand the drama behind somebody saying nothing that you did worked or whatever. But yeah, I do like reframing it, because we do need to reclaim that language, because our self-esteem and how we feel about ourselves is on the line. And if I invite language in that beats me down, or that tells me that I'm not worthy, and I buy into it, that's no good. So look at us changing things.
But I think that's what's like why it's so helpful to have people, you be surrounded by people who can kind of help give you some perspective of that. Because I know it's really easy for me to get into that space of like, oh, I can't do nothing right, you know, and then it's helpful for somebody else who say, no, that's not true, girl. Like, there was this thing, or, you know what I mean? Because it is hard to kind of filter out.
I think, I think that was a lot. What I'm thinking of is all the things I ever tried to manage on my own. And I think there's also room for there to be some ambiguity, as in like, it doesn't have to be all black and white. And that, especially when we're doing a fourth step and we look at our assets, right? And we've talked about that in the past, where a lot of what can be called like character defects or you know, behavioral traits that weren't serving us, they did serve us at some point, right? And behind that, there is a strength, you know, and then if nothing else, like a deep desire to protect ourselves. So we have someone who just wrote in.
Yeah, David says, some things work now, some don't. That's the reality. That's life. Acceptance of this fact is paramount. That's true.
Thank you, David.
Progress, not perfection.
Absolutely. I think that they become deficits or whatever you want to call them when you realize that they no longer serve you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you still try to use it. You try to hold on. So going all the way back around, willingness too is letting go of the things that no longer serve us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh.
I wish people could see you, because I know
Well,
some people are
can.
well, some people can, but you just seem so cocksured when you like back.
Me, no, I'm just really happy to be with you guys. It's
Yeah,
like I'm all.
that
I
was
also can see myself in a different way, and I'm looking really good with my gray beard. I'm all, yeah.
it does look
Right?
really nice. You're looking great.
You seem a
Thank
little
you.
wiser
Yeah.
all of a sudden.
COVID looks good on you.
Super relaxed. That's what it is. This is my higher power doing for me what I would not do for myself, because
Stay home.
even when I go on vacation to rest, I don't rest. You know.
I feel that. I like. I want to use that as a launching pad. What you just finished saying, Lulu, and talking about the things that no longer serve us. So maybe with the rest of the time, we can talk about how willingness shows up in our lives now as like people who have some recovery under our belt, and what that looks like now when we're having a rough patch, right? We know what it looked like in the past. So what does it look like now? And I can start if y'all are thinking.
Yeah, go ahead, because
you're thinking. I think I think for me, it feels more. It feels silly for me to talk about because it feels very spiritual, and I think describing spiritual experiences feels as corny as like trying to describe love. You know what I mean? It's like love songs are super corny unless you are in love, and similarly, I think when I talk about God and my connection to God, I feel like the only other people that understand it are people who've had an experience with God. And so I think, were you weighing that?
I was agreeing without making noise so that our listeners would be happy with that.
Yeah, but like having an experience. So what does it look like now? I think what it returns to for me now is the word that comes to mind is like silence and pause, right? Because I think we pause when agitated, and I think willingness for me now is like that's what it looks like. It looks like when there is confusion, when things are not making sense, I am just stopping, and in that moment reminding myself that I'm not in control of the world, and that something is greater than me and that I can tap into that thing. And so willingness, if I had to kind of characterize it, would be that. It would be turning to something other than myself.
Yeah. How about you?
I feel the same as like, because I was thinking while you were talking, like when I'm going through whatever I'm going through, I talk to people. And that was something that I didn't do before, because I would rely on myself. And so it comes down to, like you said, pausing and thinking about like, okay, so I'm going to need to run this by somebody else. I'm going to need to get another perspective to make sure that like I'm in, because it's always for me, I'm like thinking, am I overthinking shit? Am I really in this, or is, and giving myself permission to kind of be in it for a minute, but not too long. That's another thing. It's like we were talking about earlier before faith. I have faith like a mustard seed. I have a higher power that's shown me continually. And so now there's no doubt. There's no doubt. It may take a minute at times, but usually I like dive in. I have a sponsor and friends that I can just unload. I always say, like, when I go to a meeting, when I'm working through something, I'll vomit all over the meeting until I process it out. And I usually say that because I want to encourage other people who don't know how to use the meetings yet to use the meetings however they want to use the meetings. Anyway,
for that too.
Take it to church.
Ricky Vegas says, for myself to be willing, I have to pause, meditate, keep my ego in check. Step 11 is my favorite. Yeah.
All right.
I do like step 11.
Yeah. I mean, for me, willingness right now was just, I do think that stillness and pausing is a great tool. of willingness, I think. Yeah, it's just I have been having, like, to be frank, I'm gonna not be Bonnie Violet for a minute, to be frank. But like, I've been having kind of a little bit of a crisis of faith. I don't know if faith, more of like a crisis of like, I guess God, like I'm really struggling to find a God that doesn't fail me, and I know when that's happening, it's a me thing. It's not a God thing, right? It's really more about me. And so I've been really, my willingness is just to be able to admit that out loud, to acknowledge it for myself, and to then put myself in community and spaces in which I can, with other folks. I mean, we've all been there, done that. I mean, this isn't the first time and it won't be the last time. But it's definitely a time that's like, I noticed, and it took me getting really angry for a while before I became willing. I had to run that energy out, if you will. I think willing is an action, but it's so slight.
Yeah. I think the best thing that I can equate it to is like being prepared. Like, I am prepared, or
I really like the open.
I like open too. Open was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Willing is an action, and it's slight, but it's substantial too.
It's huge.
Like, even the slight is substantial. It's weird. It's like it's this total kind of paradox, if you will. It's like, sometimes it's a little bit, but that little bit is enough to kind of take you to the moon and the stars.
Mm-hmm.
The small hole in the armor.
Anka says, yes, having the willingness to ask for help from other humans versus keeping it inside and trying to solve a problem with the same brain I drank with. I need other people's brains to help me out.
Yes. Absolutely. My sick mind could not heal my sick mind.
Okay.
It's like, boy, do we try.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anka, I really like that a lot. My therapist says that when I'm uncertain, I rent the brains of my friends in the fellowship.
Nice.
Rent the brains. Huh.
Rent the brains.
Rent the brains.
Okay, it's probably that time.
It's not quite,
I know.
But it's probably close enough.
But we started making zombie noises.
All right. Wait.
Anka. Yeah. Going back to that last thought, to like make it less ambiguous, I think, and I've talked about this on the show before, is like I've struggled to trust things that I think and feel. And so sometimes the like best that I can do is like defer to people that I love and trust, because I'm like, I don't know how to feel or think about this. That's all I got.
Oh, yeah.
I think that when for me, I feel like that is when I'm in line with my higher power. We talk about God's will or higher power's will. It's when I'm not certain, but I'm willing to kind of share and talk and put it out there, all of it. And that sounds like another topic too.
I know. It was like, I have too.
Yeah.
But because I don't think God's will is not any different than my will.
The block tickets.
I know, that's like dun dun dun. That's
dun,
a whole
dun.
nother.
That's great.
I know. Well, that's perfect. It's like I don't necessarily agree. Like, but no, I think that it's at times. No, I think at times our wills are aligned. Yeah. But sometimes I think something is good for me when it's not, and if I'm so dug in and unwilling to kind of ask for thought, that's when it gets kind of like dicey about whether or not I'm in God's will.
Yeah, I just feel like that we all have the same will. I think what can happen is that we don't like, me and God don't, like, we can do, like, God knows how to do the right thing to get the result that I'm looking for, and I don't. So it's like, I believe we have the same will. Like, we both are trying to get me to have the same experience or get me to do this thing. Like, I feel like we're on the same page with that. It's just, how the fuck do we get there? Like, that's where I think sometimes there's the conflict for me.
So we need to start closing out. But I did hear something yesterday, just quickly. I forget the guy's name. I think it's Neville Bedard. He's some like spiritual thinker. Anyway, he said that that God exists in that we can feel God in the instance when we are using our creative mind to like manifest visions and experiences, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what should we tell people?
Well, if you want to reach me, you can always reach me at the Instagram at LouieLou86. And I think I have some new pictures up there from Palm Springs. Hey.
Hey, I'll have to check those out. And you can reach me, Bonnie Violet, at A Queer Chaplain on all of the things. Go to my website at aqueerchaplain.org.
And you can find me on Instagram with my 2 photos at Lucas CCC on Instagram. I just
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and we just want you to know that the Castro Country Club is a clean and sober gathering place for all people and a home for the queer recovery community. We're located in the heart of the Castro district of San Francisco, and we endeavor to be a space where all can seek wisdom, serenity, courage, and joy. And you'll find more information at castrocountryclub.org/podcast on our new website.
And we always love to hear from you. Thanks for everyone who was in the comments today and who comment afterwards. But we would love it as well, too, if you spend some time with our pipe. That is our speak pipe. Leave us a voicemail. It's kind of like
spend some time with our pipe.
So just do it. Like get on there and leave us some vocals, leave us some voice message, and then we can use that on the episode as well.
You know what? We have 4 minutes. Go and leave us a message right now on SpeakPipe.
Yes, leave us a message.
Tell us. We're waiting for you.
Absolutely.
Tell us about your day, your favorite color, what you had for dinner. We just want to hear.
So while you're doing that, we're also let everyone know too that we meet here every week at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
That's right.
At Castro Country Club on the Facebook and the YouTube. And the YouTube both. So go ahead and watch us there live, or you can listen to us afterwards wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, and keep telling your friends about us. Our numbers keep rising, so we're connecting with more people out there. So thank you, everyone who listens in. We love you, as you know, and we hope
just
you're next week. Maybe Louis over me.
No, I'm sorry. Oops, I apologize. A loving reminder that we do not speak for any 12-step program, any programs. We simply are just ambassadors for ourselves. And I'm sorry, Anthony, you can have the last word.
I don't even remember. I don't even know.
I'll say the last word.
I don't even want to say anything.
Bye.
Bye. We love you. See ya. Bye.